I'm in-depth reporter Rochelle Alleyne. Back in May, we introduced you to a local firefighter who said an HOA dispute was keeping her from her dream home. Hundreds of you were talking about the story online, and with those comments came requests for help from more than a dozen homeowners in that community. And I spent weeks digging through documents for answers. A converted garage, an HOA interview, and an email dispute.
I don't think someone should have enough power to prevent you from buying a home.
Back in May, that's what Shantasia Stevenson told us was keeping her from closing on a home in the townhomes at Wexford Community.
Previously, the townhome had a violation due to the garage. The garage had been converted into a room. After that, the seller was made aware of this, so the seller converted the garage back. So they converted the garage back, and then I had the interview. Even though there was no more violations, the HOA president ordered a new estoppel letter stating that the garage had been converted, even though it had already been converted back.
Stevenson contacted us because neither she nor the seller could get the HOA president to commit to re-inspecting the home.
The title company said that I had to have a letter of approval from the HOA to close on the home.
Instead, lawyers got involved. Stevenson provided email exchanges from March 27th and April 2nd that includes the HOA president, her realtor's office, and the community association. The group goes back and forth about missed inspection dates and miscommunication about rescheduling. At one point, Stevenson's realtor calls the back and forth nonsense and says she will share her concerns about the process with the city. The HOA president responds by accusing that realtor of threatening to defame the board. By the time our story aired, Stevenson had pulled out of the deal, but that report proved to be just the beginning. Since the story aired in May, more than a dozen people who own or owned property in that community have contacted ABC Action News.
I was never notified of the violation.
They're people like Isoraida Lorenzo, who tried to sell that home to Stevenson. She lives in South Carolina and says she had no idea that converting her garage violated the HOA's bylaws.
The garage was converted, again, within days of being alerted to the issue. I hired an attorney, and for a month and a half, 2 months, I could not convince them to do an inspection of that property.
But once Stevenson withdrew her offer, she says things changed.
I actually spoke with my realtor, and we worked to find a cash buyer that could assume the violation. Which turned out to be unnecessary, because after he interviewed that cash buyer, within days, he was willing to inspect the home, clear the violation, and provide a clear estoppel. And that left me with a loss of $20,000 on the home.
And Lorenzo says she's now weighing her legal options.
I checked with my attorney, and I do have a case for it. So that's something that I'm considering. I can sue them for damages for the difference in what I sold my home for.
And the concerns didn't stop there.
I end up going to the pool barbecue. Now I'm going to court.
Rodney Scott also contacted ABC Action News. Court documents accuse him of hosting a barbecue last Labor Day at the community pool, violating the HOA bylaws. But he says all he did was gather with neighbors who offered him food.
And then I see people coming up to the pool area, and we just talking, mingling, talking about the community, talking about life. And next thing I know, I get an email saying I violated some pool rules. I'm like, I didn't know we had them, because I done seen people previous going out eating food, having drinks, having parties.
The HOA is asking a judge to bar Scott from hosting parties with food and beverages by the pool. And they also want him to pay the HOA's legal fees in this case.
After renting for years at this point, 4 or 5 years, there was a change, right?
We also spoke with Ngozi Eze, who says she's been locked in a lengthy legal battle over tenants.
Around 2023 is when we suddenly found that there was an issue in regards to my tenants.
Their tenants, she said, were trying to renew their lease. The HOA claims she didn't give them a 30-day heads up before moving her tenants in, as outlined in the community bylaws. And in the end, her tenants were forced to move out.
I was instructed that my tenants were to vacate, which they did within 2 weeks of the request by the HOA board to vacate.
But she says things didn't end there.
And unfortunately, as a result, a lawsuit was hurled against me, both for my tenants and also for the barbecue.
It's the same barbecue Rodney Scott was accused of hosting. The HOA also filed a notice of lawsuit on her property, which could impact a future sale of her home. Eze has filed to dismiss both the lawsuit and that notice.
It was shocking, it's frustrating, and it's really confusing. Even now, I'm just wondering, how did we get here?
We took these homeowner concerns to local attorney Eric Appleton, who specializes in HOA law. And he said that if the community is unhappy enough, they may have grounds to remove the entire HOA board.
Basically, by petition, they can call a special meeting, or they can even just do a written petition to remove the board members from office and appoint replacement directors.
In the meantime, we have called and texted the HOA president and called and emailed the HOA's attorneys over the course of both investigations, but we have not heard back from the HOA president. I am, though, waiting on a call back from the HOA's attorney. In the studio, Rochelle Alleyne, ABC Action News.